Justin, you're 5'7". We all know it, dude.
It's 5'8".
You're great at golf, and that's fine. Height doesn't matter. And we're back.
Welcome to the Normalize Talking About Watches show. Nikki C over there.
Ladies and gentlemen, the mics are rolling.
Mics are rolling. Mr. MC, Nikki C.
We fixed the problem. Did we already tell everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we've continued to maintain not having the issue,
Yeah.
which is a positive.
No, I wasn't sure if we told them about the
Oh, yeah.
why it was a problem.
Yeah, that was our last time.
Okay.
Yeah, we ran through that one.
Well, we're back, and it's no longer a problem, ladies.
The boys are back.
I say
the boys
ladies,
are buzzing.
we
Well,
have
not
1%.
actually buzzing. It's like 3 o'clock on a Monday, but the boys are buzzing because energy is good, and
It's a rainy day, and we're
it's a
still
rainy
happy
day,
kids.
and we're still happy. Yeah.
And we got a cool topic that we came up with.
Well, about 5 minutes ago.
I think it's just hit 5 minutes
Yeah.
right now.
But you know what? That works.
But it's
we're
awesome.
going to be open-minded.
This is how most of our episodes are conceived nowadays as well.
Right.
Which is cool.
Yeah. Also, really quick, you got a little Wemby on the wrist, and it just happens to be Wimbledon week.
You know why I
we
wore
have
this?
to address that.
I wore this because of that,
Okay.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the Wimbledon on. I wore it because you posted the Justin Thomas photo on the account. And
He gets it.
Did you see what he was wearing, by the way? It looks like a 36 mil.
Really?
It looks like that. He's got tiny wrists. Justin Thomas definitely is not a big wrist guy because I've seen him wear the Pepsi. Or not the Pepsi. He wears the... Yeah, what does he wear? I think he wears the Pepsi. In most of his photos, he's got a nice Rolex on when he's holding up his trophies. And I think I noticed one time that he either had a Batman or a Pepsi on, and it looked like massive. And then that photo he posted, which I'm going to pull up really quick and screenshot so that I can remember to put it up in the episode.
Well, Justin, when you see this, I personally... Oh, crap. Hold on. Logo.
Yep.
I personally, I think you have full-size wrists. I think they're nice and big.
That's a 36.
Strong.
No, he's got small wrists. Justin, you're 5'7". We all know it, dude.
He's 5'8".
You're great at golf, and that's fine. Height doesn't matter. But, like, bro, look at that. Don't you agree? Like, doesn't that look small?
No, I think his wrists are bigger than yours.
They might be. That watch looks like it's the same. That looks like a 36, though.
I'm just messing with you.
It hyped me up. Long story short, I was like...
I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it is. It probably very well could be a 36. However, when it's next to Ricky's date right there, does it look that much smaller?
You zoom in and tell me.
Okay.
I was...
what is it?
It motivated me to wear mine because I'll never forget when I first
It does look a lot smaller.
It looks a lot smaller. And shout out Ricky for just big...
So...
him.
Yeah,
bleep
so
that
BDR.
out. Yeah, he goes, "Oh, that's cool,
Well,
JT."
Yeah, that's his nickname, though. Do we have to bleep out Big Rick?
Yeah,
or is that like
I think so. In the first 5 minutes, we have to bleep out all cuss words because that's what Rolex.
Because that's when
uses.
everybody listens.
Or that's when everyone listens, and that's when I just said Rolex. That's when YouTube.
When Rolex listens.
Yeah, that's when Rolex listens. No, that's when YouTube. That's what they use as their metric to like flag a video, is if the first 5 minutes.
Got it.
But that being said, Spieth, I couldn't see what watch he was wearing.
He's very understated.
Yeah, but it was a Rolex event.
His wife
he
was
had
wearing.
to have a Rolex.
Well, so his wife was wearing an OP. I saw that.
Yes, I did see that.
I'm not sure what he was wearing. That's actually a great point.
I couldn't
get Wimbledon over. Is it still going on? What happens there? I'm sorry, I don't know.
This was I don't know 7 hours ago.
Was there a champion of Wimbledon?
I don't know, but here's what I'll say about the 36, which I think that's what he's wearing.
Okay.
I remember when I first got this watch. I forget who I was showing it to, or someone asked about it or something.
Oh.
And I'll never forget because they were like, "Oh wow, you didn't want to get the big one, or you don't want to get like the men's version or something." And it was like a joke, but it was a chirp that this is a small watch.
Yep.
And it is a small watch, but I think Justin Thomas wears the same one.
Well, I got a big watch and I got rid of it.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
The final
Small
of
watches are
Wimbledon
in.
is Sunday, so it's not over. So you get to wear that all week.
Let's go.
You're wearing that all week. It works. I saw a Wildman Wimbledon model, a Daytona. I thought that was sick.
What?
Yeah, it was cool. Wildman,
the one
the
that's
custom company.
Yeah.
But they made a really cool Wimbledon model. I thought it was neat. It is fun to see like Justin Thomas and like Ricky and those guys, go into like Wimbledon and doing like something fun like that, and obviously sporting various Rolexes that we get to like spot and look at, which is fun. Also, side note, we saw a random post that had Roger Federer's wife wearing
I'm gonna
one of
screenshot
the
that.
craziest watches. I think it is the craziest watch I've ever seen. And the only reason I say that is because I've never actually seen one, and I didn't know it existed. And
You're talking about the green one, right?
I'm not talking about the green one anymore. I'm
Okay,
talking
you
about the
changed
one
it.
you showed me.
Yeah.
The
I'm
green
screenshotting
one,
them all
I
just so that
didn't
we
know
have
existed
everyone.
either. This one right here. This one is a day date with emeralds all around it, and that watch is insane. But you said Mark Wahlberg's worn it, and he's seen it. He's seen it before. I had never seen that watch before. I thought that was really crazy. And then, as I was saying, I saw Roger Federer's wife wearing something that I had never seen. Nick's like, "Hey, yeah, I'd never seen it either. That Stingray is crazy." And I was like, "What Stingray are you?"
Yeah, we were talking about two different
about,
watches
right?
that she was seen wearing, which is hilarious.
Yeah, so he was talking about this watch, and this watch, I believe, is the craziest watch at this point that I've ever seen in the wild. Like, I have never seen anyone wearing that watch, which makes it insane. Yeah.
But this has a green. The date is
Mark.
green.
Oh, and the date's green in
You
this
see that?
one. Yeah, is it green in hers?
I don't know, but that's sick.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's the same watch. There's no way they make two watches identical except for the date wheel, but maybe they do. I don't know.
No, but the watch that.
It's a
First of all, her whole
Datejust.
collection is off catalog, so shout out.
Yeah,
And we know that we obviously know that the Federer family is very close to Rolex, being that Joe earlier this year called that he would be the first one wearing a new watch, and he was in the public eye at least.
Yeah. I think they're intertwined so heavily in the sports world.
Yeah.
That, that relationship makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But yeah, we didn't know his wife had the Ballin collection too, which I kind of assumed.
I
Obviously,
guess you have
she
to
would
make
get
the
hooked
assumption.
up. Yeah,
right?
she would get hooked up too. But we're gonna have the photos up so you'll see them. But the post was well done. Broke down 5 different photos of her wearing 5 different watches. Every single one of them's off catalog, in the most Ballin way. So good for them for having the sickest watch collection of all time. I can't imagine the security system or safe that they have at their house, because God only knows how expensive their collection is.
I want to know if anybody's ever seen this watch. First off,
The Datejust?
second off, yeah,
I've never seen it before. They're calling it the Zebra.
the Zebra blank Datejust.
Yeah.
It's got a Stingray band. It's got diamonds kind of everywhere. It's got zebra stripes in the middle of it. It's very similar to the Tiger's Eye
I think it must have been released
Daytona.
in a similar, maybe the same year, Now that I've learned about watches, I wish I've been following them for 10 years so I could have a more educated opinion on the history of how watches get released. But just based on the last couple of years, they release similar stuff together typically, right? So maybe they were released at the same time, because as you guys will know, we'll put them side by side up here, but very similar characteristics. Minus this one has diamonds in the Stingray band, which makes no sense, but it's cool. Maybe
It's definitely cool,
it's unique,
but
it's something I've never seen before.
I don't understand it.
Why
And,
put
a lot of
diamonds in the
Stingray,
band?
the Stingray. So I've actually seen Stingray, as have you.
Yeah,
and a lot of
Stingray's dope.
Stingray has white spots in it, or a white streak in it, and so it looks like they've taken out the white streak and white spots and made that diamond, which is cool.
Very cool.
I don't understand it, but anyway,
Me either.
Neither here nor there. We're getting down a rabbit hole, which I love rabbit holes, but we have
Not the topic
a
of
very
today's
interesting
conversation.
topic today. One quick side note: a very trusted source, in my opinion. Nick's skeptical, but we're gonna figure this out for you.
I just have never met him.
We're not gonna do it today, but we have a loose confirmation that Rolex boutiques are not owned by Rolex.
Yeah.
And
And
AP
we
boutiques are
fact-checked
not
it. It
owned by
kind of
AP. We
checks
did
out.
fact check. It seems like that is very true.
Yeah.
He's got receipts that we're going to prove that, which I think is awesome. And we are 100% at some point. We just have to figure it out logistically, because it's difficult. He lives in a different area, and it doesn't seem like he comes to Charleston much, but we do have a mutual old strong connection there that hopefully we're going to be able to dive fully into, and this is just some really cool foreshadowing.
Yeah, it's weird.
But there's no ownership of by Rolex of the Rolex boutiques. It would seem that now that we've kind of gone down the rabbit hole of looking into this, that there's only one Rolex boutique that's owned by Rolex, and that is in Switzerland.
Which we don't
kind
even know
of
if
blew my
that's
mind.
Yeah, we don't even know if that's
We don't know if that's true or not. So if you know, please tell us, because that is the whole point of us trying to.
And don't just Google it and tell us what you found on Google.
So we've done that.
Because we've done that. Mm-hmm. I want someone to be like, oh, I've been to the store and it's not owned. Because my main question I'll say is this. I remember my experience, which we talked about in the last episode in San Francisco, which is the one that we were told about in the specific conversation. And the guy named the owner, which we fact checked and it did come up as the owner. The whole store was all Rolex, and they had a Rolex logo on their like name tags and stuff. So that's something you don't see at an AD that sells other brands. But I think it does now kind of make sense after we looked into it. It's very possible that they're an AD just for Rolex.
And that's what makes them a Rolex boutique.
Which makes them a Rolex
AP
boutique.
Or
basically, we found our inference from inference. What's the word I'm looking for?
Inference.
Basically, what I've gotten from this is that you can, an AD, I guess in the blanket term to me is like you're an authorized dealer of multiple watches. That's my definition of it. That's not the actual definition. And a Rolex boutique is you're an authorized dealer, but only of Rolex in that brick and mortar location. Because if you look up Rolex boutique, it's only a Rolex store.
It's just such a broad term. Like, what the fuck is a Rolex boutique? Like, I don't know.
Only sells Rolex. That's what it comes up as. But we just found out that if we looked up watch stores around us, Dimitri, our go-to, it comes up as Rolex.
And their website shows up as Rolex.com.
Yeah. Which is really weird. So it's like...
But they're not a Rolex boutique.
No, they're not a Rolex boutique. They would be considered a watch retailer or a jeweler.
An AD.
Yeah.
They're an AD,
But they're an authorized dealer of Omega and Tudor and, all that stuff. So I don't know, man. We don't know.
I'm doubting everything at this point.
So just tell us if you know something more than we know.
Oh, we hope you do. We hope you do.
I didn't start the timer, but I can read that up there.
You didn't start the timer.
No, but it's okay. It's at 12 minutes.
It's at 12 minutes. I see the 12:47, 12:48.
So let's get into our real topic.
All right. Well, that's exactly where I was going.
Okay.
So as we were looking up the, fact checking our source, which not necessarily fact checking. He was like, hey, the AD or the Rolex boutique in San Fran is owned by this company, Tourneau. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I can confirm that it is 100% not owned by Rolex. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. So we look it up and we kind of confirm that. And when we did that, we went onto the Tourneau website and found out that they were started in 1900 as an American jeweler and watch dealer. Mm-hmm. And they were bought recently in 2018 by Bucherer. I think it's Bucherer.
I think you're saying it right.
Bucherer?
Yeah.
Okay, so Bucherer. And Bucherer was started in 1888.
Old.
And so you may have seen watches that are Carl F. Bucherer, which are the watches that I've seen.
Yep.
But I believe Bucherer, and we haven't fully ironed out this discussion. Again, we came up with it at this point 15 minutes ago.
Yep.
Bucherer is a jewelry company and watch dealer of various brands, but then they also have a subsect of their own watches, which I believe is Carl F. Bucherer. What we found to be really, 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 really cool is that on the website, they have a section that is called Bucherer Blue. And that is what we were going to nuts and bolts today. The mashed potatoes of our conversation, which I don't know why I went with mashed potatoes.
But the meat and potatoes?
Meat and potatoes. I think that's what I was going
That's
for.
That's all right, though.
Yeah.
This is the mashed potatoes of our conversation.
My mashed potato brain is not working
That's
correctly
probably why
today.
You went to it, because your brains are made
mashed potatoes. And now I have two brains because you meant them plural.
Yeah. Your brains. No, your brains. Okay, so tell us about it. This is really interesting because this is so what I'm going to do actually for the timestamping purpose is.
Oh, what's up there?
We're going to use this to put up everything we're talking about. So just talk about it. And I'm just pointing so that when I scrub through the footage, I can find the moment where we're doing this with our hands. Because you guys have to understand, we have to go through all the footage to find our moments, which Joe goes through and timestamps them.
It's kind of fun.
But it's hard for me to find them sometimes. So this is an easy way to find them because I know when we did something crazy when I scrub through and it'll show me all the shit we're doing. We're starting the conversation now because there's a lot of things that we're probably going to have to put up on the screen. Let's not go through each individual. Okay. We're not going to talk about each individual watch, but we're going to show all of them at some point.
Okay. Just remember this for future use. I am actively trying to confuse you at this point.
Yeah. Don't point at the screen. Right. I mean, at this. Yeah. When you talk about each watch, because I'm not going to.
I won't do that anymore.
Okay. Bleep that.
All right. Bucherer Blue. Okay, so first off, Bucherer Blue was a color that was just tied to the brand in 1888. And I'm scrolling through their website, right? And I mean, this is going to be a pretty short conversation, but out of nowhere, I just start seeing random watches that are all Bucherer Blue.
Right.
And it was just wild to me that these existed. So you have what you would assume, Carl F. Bucherer Blue. Then you have Ulysses Nardin Bucherer Blue.
And all of these watches, as you'll see in these photos here, they all have this.
I'll just go ahead and start screenshotting them.
Yeah, screenshot them so that we have them, but they have little hints.
Little hints of this blue. And the blue kind of varies, right?
Yeah, I guess it's not really dialed in because the blue on the Panerai, I remember, was a little bit more like light than that blue.
Like that's more like matted and lighter, and then the others are more royal. Then you have this GP. This GP is insane. I mean, these watches, guys, are ranging from $10,000, which is not cheap, but from $10,000 to this GP that I just took a screenshot of is $167,000.
Yeah, it's absurd.
And it is a tourbillon with 3 flying bridges, Bucherer Blue. A Glashut original in Bucherer Blue. A Longines Master Collection, Bucherer Blue. A Panerai GMT Luminar Bucherer Blue. I mean, this is wild to me.
This is crazy because they're the world's largest watch retailer.
World's largest watch retailer. H. Moser and C. Sai.
They basically convinced all of these brands to do, which is nuts. Like they convinced these brands to do a collaboration where the brand that is, let's call it AP or whatever, and one of these, they've collabed with basically everyone at this point, minus Rolex, which is
I don't see any Rolex collaboration.
But Rolex doesn't really like do that.
Yet they own. Sorry.
Yeah. I guess they don't really do that anymore. But Tudor's on there.
Mm-hmm.
So they did do Tudor. But basically they convinced them to make a watch using their brand color of blue, let's call it in quotes because it's slightly different shades.
Mm-hmm.
And these companies made, which now I'm kind of learning, this could be like a pretty rare watch to come about. I'd be interested to try to hunt one down and see if we can find one for sale. But basically, these brands made watches that are only sold, it sounds like, in the Bucherer retail stores.
Yeah, they're exclusive to their retail locations and their stores, which is crazy.
It's basically a one-off. Not one-off. I'm sure they made them at scale at some point, but it's basically a watch you can only get it from their location, similar to like the Tiffany stamped stuff we were talking about when we did that episode on Tiffany and Rolex. You could only get it. It was a way of showing that this was purchased at a Tiffany store, not a Rolex boutique or Rolex store. So they stamped them in the Tiffany place.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically that situation. These watches are. It's like
this is
stamped
100% that situation.
Yeah, which is nuts.
The watches are extremely hard to find. So I just went on to Chrono 24. You guys are probably all very well aware of what Chrono 24 is. It's a massive watch marketplace, right?
Yep.
And like pretty much anytime you search something, you find like a ridiculous amount of results.
Yeah.
So I just typed in Bucherer Blue, and on Chrono 24, I got 7 results, and 2 are ads. So I got 5 results.
What do we got?
I got a Carl F. Bucherer Monero Bucherer Blue.
Okay.
Actually, every single one of them is Carl F. Bucherer.
On Chrono?
Yep. Nope. You have to be very much more specific. So I can type in Tudor
Bucherer blue.
Black Bay bronze Bucherer blue, and it is showing up pretty easily anywhere between $3,500 and $5,500.
That's basically what they are retail.
Yep.
Wow.
There's a wow. I mean, this is wild to me. Right?
It's crazy because it's a one-off.
I'm getting sucked into the vortex, like just like
is
going
it a
down this rabbit hole.
I guess we got to find out. We could do more research.
I don't know if they're one-offs, but it would seem that they're only sold in their boutiques. It's just crazy to me that like there's all of these brands that agreed to let's make a watch in blue and only let you sell it at Bucherer boutiques. But I wonder if it's more than just at Bucherer boutiques. It's just that any AD that's owned by Bucherer, which is 36 locations in Europe,
right?
Which I would assume now includes the Tourneau because they bought they bought Tourneau.
I guess the umbrella company, but it's not. But that's the thing; it's not on paper. Yeah, it's not on the
Bucherer,
store.
It's
right?
Bucherer, right?
So well, you have the store. It says Tourneau. We found
right. Yeah. So
Bucherer,
you have 36. You have 36 potential places where you could buy one of these watches, and every single one of them is in Europe.
Right, which makes it, to me,
really
very weird that those are only $5,000.
The Tudor.
Well,
the GP was 167,000.
I know, but that's what a GP costs.
Are all GPs that much?
With flying tourbillons, probably
3 of them.
Yeah, I would imagine that's probably what that watch costs. Even like the Black Bay, for example, is $3,700 roughly. So that price is not inflated, which you would think a limited watch, in my opinion,
but
would be inflated a little bit.
Tiffany watches aren't inflated. Not retail, right?
Retail?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think retail, but we're talking about that's not retail. No, that's market value.
Well, you're right. I mean, yeah, like when you're looking at the Chrono 20.
Yeah. Retail was the
I would
same.
say that, and I mean, I just think that most Tudor probably hovers around that, what you bought it at price.
Yeah. But Tiffany, I mean, think about Tiffany's, a Tiffany stamped any watch is worth significantly more.
I don't know that, actually. I know that, like, you know, I know that the Patek is. I know that Rolex for sure. But, if there was but, those I think are weird examples because those watches also just go up in value in general.
Well, I know, but I'm saying, like, picture the date. Like, well, first, those are the people they've...
Datejust is a better example because it's like something that you could probably get in the $3,000 to $5,000 range.
And that one was
15.
And it sold.
Yeah.
So it's fair.
And that was also flawless. That watch was... We should have bought that.
Yeah. But no, my point is that, well, they only did... you just referenced that there's the Patek and the Rolex, but those are the people they collabed with.
Is that it?
I don't know if that's it, but I'm saying that's what they're known for.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a Patek that's Tiffany stamped is way more than a 5711 that's not.
I just don't. I don't.
And then the Datejust is.
I still actually don't. I don't understand the draw to the Tiffany stamp. Still,
I think. I mean, outside of Rolex, it's just an exclusivity thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's cooler than the ones that aren't. To certain people.
Yeah.
Which is why I think we found out, not why we think, I know because I talked to the people at Dimitri that Rolex that was Tiffany stamped sat there for so long because most people didn't understand the value. And to Joe's point, that is the cheapest is not the best word. I need to stop saying that. That's the least expensive Rolex that you can get, basically, is a two-tone Datejust that's, let's call it vintage, for lack of a better term, from the 80s, right? You can get them, if you go to New York and go on to whatever that street is, what is it, 47th Street or something? The Diamond District, you could find them all day for less than $5,000 because they're just cheap watches in the market from a price perspective, not cheaply made. And then all of a sudden, this one, which was a 36 millimeter, two-tone Datejust, nothing special, with a Tiffany stamp, was $15,000. So most people probably walked in.
It was also flawless.
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
But still, I mean, I think
right.
A nice two-tone Datejust is still not going to touch 15 if it's not Tiffany stamped.
No, it's probably.
And I think that was the issue. People kept coming in going, "Wow, I've seen these watches for way cheaper. Why is this one $15,000?" And no one understands. And they're like, "Oh, it's Tiffany stamps," and people are like, well,
"Yeah, but like other people just don't care about the Tiffany stamp." Relative to Rolex, like it's it's a small time in history that they did this collaboration, and like anytime you have a Rolex that has a significant tribute to a time where they made a watch and they don't do it anymore, or a collaboration that they don't do anymore. Like those inherently have a lot of value.
It marks
but I don't,
time.
Yeah, it marks a piece in time, right?
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah.
I don't get like the massive draw to the Tiffany stamp.
Neither. I think it's one of those things that if you, I don't know, like we have a friend, we'll bleep out his name, that he gets his Pateks through Tiffany, not through Patek, which is interesting. So maybe for him, he doesn't really care too much about the exclusivity of having a Tiffany. Yeah. Maybe that's just who his relationship's with.
Yeah.
And that's how he gets his watch.
Well, that's a very great point.
So it's just a coincidence.
Honestly, it could just be coincidentally.
His relationship's with someone else.
This is my dealer. This is who gets me the watches. They just happen to have access to various watches as they do collaborations.
Exactly. And so maybe that's the case.
That makes sense, and that's cool. But
I do know that the Tiffany comes out at less quantity. That's just from like following like Roman Scharf.
Yeah.
They always talk about, he's like, oh, and by the way, it's Tiffany stamped, which is just a really easy way to tell that this specific watch, there's less of them out there in the world. There's more unstamped than there are stamped. So it does create a little bit of whatever that would be, scarcity. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's, with supply and demand, just basic.
It makes sense, yeah.
Basic economics.
So, Bucherer Blue has somehow encapsulated a similar audience.
I want to see if we can find...
Now it has encapsulated me, and I'm not going to be able to work for the rest of the day.
What's cool about this, though, is we kind of just open up a can of worms that at least I didn't know was cool until kind of now. But basically, like, trying to hunt down, which this is not rocket science. We're not the first person to think of this. No, something that I just, like... it's like weirdly, it's happening as we're doing this, but basically like hunting down these weird collaborations and trying to be like more intentional with a buy, like as our watch collection matures and our knowledge on it, instead of just going for like what new watches came out. Okay. These 5, I like this one. Let me throw my name down or, let me tell them that I'm interested in this watch versus this, which I think we're both, Joe obviously you showed that with your Rolling Blazers. You could have bought a Seiko 5 Sport, 2 years ago.
Any of them. Yeah.
Any of them. At any time. You could buy one right now. But that one is the first one you bought, which I think now sets a standard for like buying a watch. You almost want to be very intentional with the buy and don't just be like, yeah, I just want the newest, coolest one.
My idea of collecting has 100% morphed into exactly what you just articulated.
Yeah.
From, I just want to buy whatever I could.
Right.
And whatever I could get access to. Like, if there's a Rolex, like, I'll buy it. Like, like, that's what I want.
It's interesting. It's really interesting.
I think a lot of people do that.
I think so, too. I think you start out all excited.
That's where but you don't, and whether or not you actually gain interest is... probably what would shape that, right? Like if I don't have much interest and I'm like, I just want one to wear a nice watch. Right. I probably stop right there. And then like the next time I have the opportunity to buy one, regardless of what it is, I'm just like, oh, this watch is blank amount of money. Like, yeah, dude, I'll buy that. Like I had a good month or I had a good year.
Yeah.
Right. There's no true intent behind it. But when you're actually like starting to become fascinated with watches and fascinated with various brand stories and like wanting to talk about watches with people, like when someone asks me about this watch, which I'm wearing the back row today.
Oh yeah. Which he said he doesn't wear that often. So it's exciting to
I've worn it for the last 3 days now because as soon as I said it, I was like,
probably should wear that.
I'm going to start wearing that a little more.
Yeah.
And I've got an interesting story relative to it. Like it's not just, I wanted to buy a GMT.
And I got this one.
Got
the Pat Mahone story.
Yeah. So it's like...
And I mean, yeah, to your point, that's more fun to talk about.
Yeah, it's more fun to talk about. Like you have a conversation, not, hey, man, I like your sub. Like, oh, yeah, sick, dude. It was $10,000.
Yeah. I bought it because it was available.
Cool. Okay, well,
versus the Rolling Blazers one, you have a full story.
Right, yeah.
Like, oh, that's funny you say that.
So many fun,
this
cool
is a collaboration with this company. This company sells this. This is the founder does this. It's purple because of this. I picked purple because of this.
You're nailing it like 100%. You're nailing it, dude. It makes it so much more fun.
Yeah.
And it makes it a little harder to find various pieces, but it makes it so much more fun that it's just so much more rewarding. One, when you purchase a watch, when you finally find one that you're like, you know, this is really cool.
Right.
I've been looking for one of these. Like I can't honestly say that I've like hunted a vintage watch.
No.
And I think
I have.
that, so I'm currently hunting slowly and surely, but I'm currently hunting for, and I think we probably both are loosely, for a Tudor sub.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think whenever I finally get to have that experience of finding one and I'm like, yo, this thing's perfect. I want it. This is it. It's going to be really cool. Because I'm like, dude, I've been looking at these for the last 2 years at this point.
Exactly.
And I'm like, you know, eventually I think in the next year or so, I'm probably going to be pretty good at looking at them and like understanding, you know, what era they came from and like which year it is. And it's like, oh, dude, this one's from 96 because it's got the glass crystal, you know, it's got the crystal, it's not plastic, and it's got this and this. I'm like, that's the one I want. Versus just, oh, that's another Tudor stuff. Like I'm learning and learning and
learning.
You don't
learn,
and that's
when you buy a new watch, you don't really learn.
That's creating like, it's creating a fun.
What's making you more interested? That's
experience.
Like the more knowledgeable you get on a topic, the more willing you are to talk about it, right? It's kind of hard to talk about something you don't know anything about.
Yeah.
So when you start to know about it, all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, I can actually like have these discussions with people and I can sound educated. And to your point of like hunting for them, it's such a different experience because I did this with I didn't do much of the hunting. I did kind of like a knowledge hunt where I basically, what I mean by that is like I did research to find out what era I was kind of interested in for the day date. Mm-hmm. But Matt, shout out Matt from Dimitri, he did the hunting for me. And what was cool about it was he brought me 4, maybe 5, maybe 6 or I don't know. He brought me a good amount of them before I bought the one I bought. Which if you're out there and you've bought a new Rolex, you don't get to choose like that. You know, like you get a call or you go in there and there's one available and you buy that one. Like you don't get to be like, it's not a perfect fit. But whereas in this space, like he brought me one with a white dial. And the question I would continue to ask him every time was like, out of 10, what do you rank this? 10 being the nicest vintage day date you've ever seen, and 1 being basically fake, but not, and just completely destroyed, and the bracelet's messed up and all kinds of stuff. And he would be like 7, 8, 9. You know, this one's a 10, so I recommend it, but it's going to be expensive, blah, blah, like all this stuff. And eventually he brought me like what I think he considered was like an 8.5. Which is the one I bought. But the reason I bought it is because it was just a cool moment, cool story, and it was right place, right time. Some guy had brought it into Dimitri and sold it to them like, I don't know, an hour before. And they were like, we haven't serviced it. It's the exact condition this guy had it from. It's 1985. It was like, I didn't get it polished. I got no service. And it's like, it's amazing. Yeah, it's 2 seconds. What is that? We're going to get copyright strike.
You know what I'm doing?
No.
Bowling for Soup?
Oh, Bowling for Soup?
1985.
Oh, yeah. Wow, I'll have to post that song next time I take a picture of it. But yeah, I mean, the long story short about all that is, you know, every other time I've bought a watch, at least in my experience, when it's presented itself there, I've bought it. When I wanted it.
I have too. I've done.
Whereas
it's been like more of an impulse purchase, which is still cool, and it creates a.
There's value in impulse purchases too. Those are fun, but what's more fun, which you're learning and I'm also learning, is finding one that you like and then going to find the one that's the perfect fit for you. Which, like, you know, you learn so much along the way. I'm doing that with cars. You know, it's interesting with cars. All of a sudden you get to this threat. I've grown up in the car space, loving the newest cars. Like since I was a little kid, it's like whatever came out this year. Like, what's my favorite one? If someone were to ask me what my favorite car is, I'm like naming something probably from this year. Now I've crossed this threshold where like I all of a sudden started to like the cars I liked when I was a little kid that were like the coolest at the time from like the early 2000s.
And then every now and then, like something really cool and new comes out, and you're like, "This is awesome," but it's more of like the infatuation, and you have more of a story. Relative just this new brand new shiny object.
Right.
You know?
Which is cool.
Like I think it's a nice adaptation. You know, I've actually bought 2 watches complete impulse in my entire life. One of them I got rid of. And I got rid of it for a story piece. And the other was the first watch that you and I split, the Datejust. And that was a massive win. and it was beautiful. And I immediately thought it was beautiful. And I loved it for that. Mm-hmm. And I think it'll always be a staple piece, in our collection. Absolutely. Because it was the first watch we ever split. And like, there's a really cool story there. And and I love all of that. The second was the 41 Wimbledon. I bought it on a whim, completely random.
Wimbledon?
Yeah. This guy. This guy. Yeah.
On a whim.
Wimbledon.
And you don't have it anymore.
I got it on Wimbledon and on a whim. And I just bought it because it was a cool Rolex. Like it was
a cool Rolex that was available.
It was the thing. And we were so
excited. Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I can buy this. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get this. Just because you can buy something doesn't mean you should.
Right. We learned.
And I'm learning. I'm a human being.
Yeah. You just turned 27. Give him a break.
Right. Yeah. Come on. I don't want to tell my age.
Well, I already told it last time.
Gray hair going on. Yeah, I'm kidding. My birthday, go and get a birthday. All right. So anyway, I bought that watch and I wore it like 10 times. I wore it to my brother's graduation and I just didn't like it that much. And I was like, all right, what watch do I actually want right now if I was going to trade this, for a similar piece of value?
Yeah.
And the all black GMT, I'll never forget. I remember seeing it on, it was either Bob Sovin's wrist or a guy named Harley, and I forget what Harley's last name is, but there was a TV show called Wake Brothers back in the day.
Oh, wow. This is so, I don't know anything about this.
No?
No.
Dude, so there was a TV show called Wake Brothers back in the day, and these guys were just total badasses. And I thought they were the coolest things ever, coolest dudes ever, like long hair. One of them had a long, it was like Skater Bro. It was like the time when like Robin Big was huge. Like that Skater Bro vibe was like it. Like that was awesome. And Bob Sovin and his brother had a TV show called Wake Brothers, and it was all about these professional wakeboarders, and they were like these super cool dudes.
What a unique thing to be a professional.
Bob Sovin, he had an Audi A6, brand new Audi A6, which I thought was sick.
Still sick.
I still think is sick, but it was my first time ever really seeing one of those, and I was like, I think I want an A6, And then he had this watch on, and the watch was what looked like a Rolex Submariner, and I was relatively aware of the watch world. I wasn't infatuated by any means, but I remembered seeing it. And I was like, that watch is really cool with the 24-hour time zone on it. I didn't even know what a GMT meant. And I still didn't until like 2 years ago. But then
what's a GMT?
I had seen various, people with this black GMT throughout the last, call it 10 years. And every time I saw the watch, I was like, I love that watch. Every single time. Like I never once saw it in the wild and didn't think about how much I liked that watch and how much
you noticed it.
I noticed
it's like
it
when you think of
every single time. Every single time I saw, I was like, damn, there's that watch. Yep. There's that watch. I was in a coffee shop in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Dude walks in and he's like in tech sales or something. And he's like ordering a coffee. And I was like, there's that watch. Like, oh, this is sick. And so that was the decision I made. I was like, I'm going to trade this Wimbledon, which means absolutely nothing to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to get a watch that
now actually like.
Now I want to wear this watch every single day. Like,
I would say it's probably my favorite watch that you have.
It's so good. It's so good, dude.
I want one.
Yeah, it's so awesome. Well,
I would get that over a sub.
I'll cut you a deal. Work out or something.
No, but I would say that that's a much better tying it back into our original thing. That's just now you have a much better watch. In your opinion. And that's all that matters.
To me.
Yeah, and that's all that matters. There's a lot of people out there that would go, like we've actually had this happen, I feel like. I can't remember a specific moment, but I feel like I remember you telling people that you used to have it and that you got rid of it, and people kind of like, not jaw drop, but they're like, what? You got rid of because he had
the most desired date just.
Yeah, he had the date just Wimbledon on Jubilee 41 with fluted bezel. So it's the most expensive, to my knowledge. I don't know if it is anymore. At the time, it was the most expensive date just
single tone.
Yeah, not two tone in the secondary market. Like it was and what that typically tells you is that's the one that is the best, most sought after to the public eye. So you getting rid of it after getting the opportunity to buy it at retail, which doesn't happen for a lot of people, obviously, was kind of like a what the heck.
And I got rid of it less than retail, which is also going to blow people's minds.
And you got rid of it quick. Like what, in 2 months? 3 months? You think you had it for longer? I don't remember.
I bet I had it for about 6 months.
Yeah.
But I only wore it 2 months.
Which is nuts.
Like I literally wore it 10 to 15 times. Like it was brand new.
I mean, but here's the thing. When I put it on, I didn't love it either.
It was just so much.
And I love this one, obviously. But like, I didn't love it either. We talked about this before, but it's a pretty intense combo to have.
Yeah, it is.
Jubilee and fluted, which we don't need to get back into that, but it's like, it's really dressy, and a lot of people now know that. And you'll keep your eyes and ears out. You'll hear people say that.
I did wear it to my brother's college graduation, which, you know, that is a very cool experience, and like, you know, that was awesome. And so I'll always have that memory tied to that watch, whether or not I have it.
Right.
So every time I see one, I'm going to remember I bought that watch and I wore it to my brother's graduation. And that's probably all I'm going to remember about it. Like, that's about it.
Yeah.
Done. See you watch.
But now you have a watch that you'll probably never get rid of.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like it opened up the door to a better watch. Because maybe you wouldn't have bought the GMT. Like, you could have bought the GMT before you bought the Wimbledon, right? But then you saw an opportunity to cash out and basically get a second chance at $10,000 or whatever a Wimbledon was.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't want to buy a secondary watch because I didn't, you know, I don't know. I don't know why. I think many people probably have that.
I don't like that idea
internal
either.
Conversation of like, I don't want to buy a secondary watch. I want a brand new one.
Well,
that was like my thought process for a long time. And then it changed with that GMT.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, it's been changed.
I was gonna say we have the privilege of having a relationship with someone where we can get watches
in due time.
Due time, we're not getting them next day, obviously, but we have the privilege of having a relationship formed where we can actually just wait a little bit and get a. I can't believe this. This is the 50th call I've gotten today from just a random Delaware number, and I pick it up and it's a bot.
Really?
I'm getting botted. But yeah, it's just like, to your point, it's very weird to think of like, you know, I'm going to pay over what retail is, but it's almost like we've talked about this a little bit, but that's just the game.
But there's also like the one thing that is invaluable is that how much is I don't know if you'll answer the way I'm thinking that you'll answer, but I'm just curious, how much is your Datejust worth for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's priceless.
Perfect answer.
Yeah.
So you can't put a price on most of the watches that I own.
Right.
I don't have one. Like if you were to say, name your price, I'll buy it from you. I don't have one. You're not getting it.
I have that for
it's mine.
A few of my watches.
There's some of them have a price. But most of them, they're...
I was thinking about it.
Dude, my Seiko 5 Sport?
No price.
You are not buying that thing for me.
Yeah, and that's what's... Obviously, that's much more fun. But I was actually thinking about this the other day, and I don't know how I feel about it. But I was just thinking about it because I saw in the YouTube video of like people revamping their collection.
Oh yeah.
As opposed to adding to it, and it kind of blew my mind a little bit because I started thinking about what you just brought up. Which maybe this is a conversation for another. That would be a fun topic. Take our current collection's value, let's call it, on paper, and replace it with other watches. Because that's what I did in my own head. And basically what I did was I came to a conclusion. I was trying to value all the watches I had roughly. I wasn't like doing much research, but I was like, from what I know, these are worth this. What would I replace it with? And do I find that that's worth it? Do I find that I'm going to like those better? And would I be interested in doing that? Or would I rather just wait and hold on to everything I have and slowly add to it? But I've gotten to the point now, not that we have a lot of watches, but I have like 7 or 8 or something. And some of them I just forget that I have. And that sounds ridiculous. I understand that. But there's like somewhere, like the Tudor Chrono, I love that watch. Some days I just forget I have it. And then all of a sudden I see it because I keep them in like 2 separate things. And I see it and I'm like, oh shit, I want to wear that right now. But I genuinely forget about it sometimes, which in my opinion, I think I've been quoted saying this. If you don't wear a watch, you should probably get rid of it, which I've done plenty of times with many other watches. I've sold 3 or 4 watches now that I've bought just because I strictly didn't wear them and I liked them when I got them and I was in the honeymoon stage and then I just never touched them again. Long story short, it'd be an interesting idea.
I like the idea.
Just liquidate your whole collection and just start from scratch and keep the ones that matter. Like this is a watch that will not get liquidated, let's call it. And I know you have those as well. But there's some in there, like I could sell the root beer and not.
I'd liquidate this.
Yeah, I'm not phased by selling the root beer. I love it, but like
I'm sure I don't know if I don't know if I'd be able to do. I would do it for the game purpose, right? Of just like what is the collection generally worth and how could I liquidate and get something. But if I was being realistic, there's only like a few watches that I would be really willing to like part ways with to be able to do something like that. And so I could do both maybe. But I will say like I would uproot my collection for the new Daytona.
Yes.
And I would just wear that watch.
The platinum.
No.
Just a regular one?
The white gold. The new one.
The what?
The white gold one. The new one.
Oh, the Paul Newman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would definitely do that. That'd be an uproot.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure.
Be an uproot.
I agree. So this is another question. This will be the last one, and then we'll do a little outro because I'm gonna have to go here soon.
Yeah.
But just to do a little conversation starter. But maybe it would be, and we'll put this maybe in the topic notes of like, here's a big difference, right? You get a call tomorrow, Joe, Platinum Daytona, your previous Grail. Let's say maybe it's changed. We have it. It's yours if you want it. Are you uprooting your collection in that moment? Or are you like, you know what? I'm going to liquidate because I know I want a couple watches. I don't have the access to buying them right now. So you could, because that's the thing I was thinking about. I'm like, oh, well, if I get rid of all these, I can't just go out and buy the ones I want. You know, I'm not going to pay secondhand value for them. I'm going to wait and try to get it at retail. So then I would have this weird lapse of like one watch, which is okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like, would you really liquidate? Say they called tomorrow and said, we have this for you. Would you really? Maybe you would. I'm just curious. But would you really go, cool, I'll be in today. And I'm going to bring my entire collection. And I would like to sell it all to you so that I can afford or justify this purchase. Let's call it not afford, justify. Would you actually do that? Because that's a tough, I don't know. I'm not sure if I would. But I think I might.
If I could, I would. But
what do you mean if you could, you would?
Well, the reality would be if I got that call, it's just not something I could afford. Even if I were to go and trade in the watches I'm willing to get rid of and able to get rid of, I wouldn't be able to afford it.
Well,
like it wouldn't
maybe.
happen.
It's only $50,000.
I think
you got 20 on your wrist.
I think the new one's closer to like 75.
No, it's 52.
The Platinum Daytona.
Oh, the platinum. The Platinum. I thought you were about the Paul Newman.
No, you said Platinum.
Yeah, Daytona. The Platinum. Yeah, the Platinum 7. But you got 20K.
Well, probably low 80s after tax.
Right. So all right, you're down to 60. You sell your black GMT for 15. Let's call it. I'm just throwing random numbers that are pretty close, but not complete accurate. Now you're down to 35.
45. I'm not dropping 45.
Are you now down to 45? Well, we're through 2 of your watches.
Those are the only 2 I'm getting rid of.
Well,
what else can I get rid of?
You said you would liquidate your collection.
Well, what else? There's no monetary value, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
I don't have anything else.
Let's take you out of the date just. Let's call it $7,000.
Okay.
Just hypothetically, half of the date just $7,000.
Okay.
So now what are we at?
You're at 38.
Okay. What else do you have?
Take me out of the Speedy.
Well, that's $2,000. 36.
30. Call it 35. I'm not dropping 35.
There's no other. What other? You don't have any other watches? Oh, you're not gonna sell your
priceless Sea Dweller.
Yeah, you're not gonna sell the Sea Dweller.
And I have relatively worthless watches to other people at that point.
Pulsar.
Tissot. Citizen,
shit, I forgot about the Tissot.
Seiko. A bunch of swatches. I mean, I just quite literally, it's just not even a realistic scenario. I mean, if you run the numbers. The Nomos
is not worth enough.
It doesn't work. Not right now. At this point in my life, and it's not something I'd be able to say yes to. No. Which is a blessing in disguise. Like, I can't get that watch, but I also can't buy that watch anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, all
right, but you could do it
honestly, hypothetically, yeah, we could do that. But
Paul Newman, though, you could do it.
I could.
So that's scary.
No, I would.
You would?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, in a heartbeat.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, dude, in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, because
I agree.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think maybe we can finish after this, but like if you get that call and they're like, "Hey, man, the new Paul Newman Daytona has just come in," and for some weird fucked up reason, they're calling me to get it. That is like the same call that you get and your wife says she's pregnant. Like that doesn't, you don't get that call. I don't get that call again.
No.
I might get that call. If I ever do get that call, it is a one-time call, right? And so I think about situations like that. Like it just
will I get this opportunity
never
again? And sometimes
happens,
the answer is yes.
Right?
In that
I
scenario,
can buy the black GMT again at some point in the future.
Right.
I could buy this watch again at some point in the future. Yeah, right. Sure. I might have to pay a gray market price to be able to do so, but it's not a ridiculous gray market price. It's not. It's nothing crazy.
It's not like getting a steel Daytona
right
at retail and then have at 14,000 and then having to buy one again for 40.
And right, exactly. So it's a different scenario. Like I would be willing to do that in order to have access to something like that and have that kind of a day, dude. Holy crap. Yes.
Yeah, it's scary because that is a watch I would not be able to leave the house not wearing.
I would 100% do it.
And that's how we already talked about this, but that's how I determine my favorite watch.
Yeah. I mean, I'd get rid of everything. I'd chip away as much as possible. The Nomos is gone. 100%.
Just everything.
Everything is gone just to try to chip away at that amount, at that dollar amount. And I think I'd be able to get close, and I would probably have to come out of pocket a decent amount as well. But I think at that point it would be realistic and be something that I could actually do, moving parts around, and I would for sure.
Yeah.
Like if that's what you're asking, if
I'm asking if the opportunity presented itself, would you genuinely look at your collection and go,
I would.
I'm cool with parting ways with all of these.
Yeah. But I also have so many cool watches that are so priceless to me.
You have a unique
that I
collection.
freaking love. That
I could get rid of everything except for this.
I can't get rid of them because it doesn't matter. Like, what are you gonna give me? $5, $10, $20?
Yeah.
And to me, like they're more valuable than this thing. Like I don't care about this one as much.
I have a much different collection. Like
so
I could get rid of everything but this, and I wouldn't even lose sleep.
Right.
So
I can't.
It's a little bit different.
Right.
That's why I was thinking about it so intensely, because I was looking at my watches going, none of these mean anything to me except for this one. So genuinely, I could restart and have probably like, I don't know, 50 somewhere in that world of just like money to put into new watches. But then I thought, what would I buy? And I couldn't, there was nothing that I was like, I would get this. Yeah. Stay tuned. Because if I do end up selling them, it's not going to be for something that goes on my wrist. It's going to go more into something like that. Yes.
All right.
Okay. Well,
if you made it this far,
topic of conversation.
You're a psycho, and we love it, and we love you. So
thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we saw an interesting Instagram post the other day. Not going to mention his name, but
looks very similar to ours.
Keep copying our posts. Nicky C is super creative. He can get more creative. I don't know if you can.
Challenge accepted. Will that stay in the episode?
Thank you. Actually, seriously, imitation is the highest form of flattery, so we do appreciate that. Just tag us next time.
Hashtag Drake.
Yeah. It'd be way cooler if you tagged us. So anyway, hey.
There it is.
Keep watching. We love you.
See you next time.
This is me confusing Nicky C again.
Yeah.